It's your boy Crypto Blood. Yes, another special off the chain episode. Episode 51 actually. Got my man Rice Crypto back again. This time we're doing a little different. It all thanks to him. He said, "Hey CB, next time let's keep the phone lines closed until the end." So that's what we're gonna do tonight. You guys are more than welcome to call in, but we're gonna have this discussion first about UCC, so he can, formally and concisely explain his findings. He's doing this. He's not an expert. He's growing in knowledge about this topic as well. So we're going to go through that today for at least another, another hour and a half, and then we'll open the lines up at the end to have a good discussion. I love my callers on my channel, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So we'll get started here in a second.
Shit won't last, about to shut the city down like a crypto crash. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin.
Let's do a roll call real quick. Between the buried and free, we got Raul Pastors in the house, Rock Krill, Prayer Bear, Nathaniel Graham. That's my guy. He actually called in last time. Hope he calls in again this evening. Shout out to everyone that's watching right now. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. We're going to get started here in a minute.
Coin daddy bout them chips, nigga, rap snacks. Face all in a box, nigga, Snapchat. Fucking with the ops to get you clapped that. No cap, nigga, back.
Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
Okay. Yes. We're doing it live, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for tuning in. Got my man Rice Crypto back with us. Let me try to get this chat. All right, there we go. Crypto Monk is in the house. Yeah, man, no doubt between the buried and free. Thanks for joining tonight. So let's get Rice in tonight. Hey, man, what's going on, brother? How are you?
What's going on, man? Thanks again for having me back. And yeah, nothing against the callers from last week because I thoroughly enjoyed that. But it's kind of hard to get the gist, the summary kind of out. And I thought that would kind of be a good way of doing it today and then opening it up towards the end. I do like that element. I don't want people to think I'm dismissing that. And like you said, man, I'm not an expert, just learning. And as we're always learning, we should always be trying to teach people. So
absolutely. You actually don't you learn more as you teach?
Yes.
That's what I've always
And Nathaniel Graham, he joined up in a Telegram group. Typo, she emailed me. She hasn't joined that group. So if Typo's watching this, I did email you back. So
nice.
Please get back into the group or get back with me so I can get you into that group. And anybody else who's familiar with this subject, feel free to reach out to me via email at ricecrypto@gmail.com. And I'll talk to you and see if it's something that we can invite you into our Telegram group. I'm trying to do this mastermind alliance where we're pulling together our brain power and our skills and working together.
Okay. If you want to drop the link, I don't know if you do.
It's a private thing.
It's a private thing. Gotcha.
I'm trying to vet people through it, make sure everybody, I'm going to have something that's going to be more open towards the public for everybody. But right here, I'm just trying to put together like a little core group of some really dedicated people who are looking to try to be a part of making change as opposed to people who just like to watch videos and learn about things. I'm trying to find some proactive individuals.
Great. Shout out to Fast Nickel MV for checking in with us tonight too. So I mean, I think I don't think we did it justice last time, right? As you stated, maybe doing it this way is much better. And when you said that, you brought that up after the stream. I'm like, absolutely. Let's go ahead and do it with this format. So maybe let's start from the beginning again, and just walk people through what UCC is. And then we'll kind of go from there, because again, my understanding, Rice, was that UCC was primarily used by business entities, corporations within the 50 states here in America give us your background and what you've found, and how did you even get into this space? What was that all about? How did that come about?
Well, when I first started doing like the research on this, it was because I was having issues with driver's license problems, and some people were talking about this is back like in throughout the late 90s and throughout the 2000s. I'd heard many people mention things about you're not required to have a license. A license is for commerce. If you're just traveling, then you're not required to have a license. And that kind of started getting me questioning things and looking into things. But as I said before, there wasn't a lot of information really available at the end of the 90s, throughout the early 2000s. And I really kind of got away from that subject. And then as I was in the crypto element and researching things about government and different things about the banking system, some of these things started resurfacing. And then as I was starting to restructure my channel, which people can find at Rice Crypto, anywhere on YouTube and all that good stuff. Once I started doing that, I started incorporating these elements in what I was doing with my shows. UCC itself is basically a uniform commercial code, and it's a comprehensive set of laws that are used for governing all commerce and commercial transactions in the United States. It's not federal law. It's interstate transaction of business. And how that applies to us is potentially the fact that we, when we were born, had a legal fiction strawman corporate entity created against our knowing. And because of that,
is that the Social Security card that's assigned to us?
That would come
tie into it.
That the birth certificate and things like that.
Yeah.
They would, the combination of, they would all kind of come into play. Now, and people are like, well, how does this work out? I mean, when you think about anything, we talked about this last time briefly, everything that we do is involving a contract. You go to a bank, you start an account, you're signing a contract. You get a ticket from a police officer. He's giving you a ticket. You're signing a contract. Everything that we do is signing contracts. And so that's also something that people take into consideration is, the fact we got contract law. Everything is contracts. All businesses interact with contracts. That's what we are. Basically, we are basically walking corporations. And to kind of go into what I've learned about this. And again, anybody who can provide me with more detailed information about what I'm talking about, please reach out and contact me. And you can find me on social media everywhere at Rice Crypto. But the saying, all roads lead to Rome. I mean, you've heard that a lot. Mm-hmm. And it really does ring very true. This system really, from what I'm understanding, goes back a long time throughout history. Back to like the Babylonian, Mesopotamian time period. The Phoenicians possibly were the ones that created this commerce law. Some people refer to it as occult commerce. Occult means hidden. So it's like a hidden commerce system that people aren't really aware of.
Right. When people say occult or think of occult, they think of evil.
Right. But it means
that's
just
not,
hidden.
That's
just
not
hidden.
the case.
That's another thing that's important to bring up is etymology. What words mean.
Right. Right.
And where these words come from, because that is also very important, because our daily activities are presuming that we are participating in this system. Unless you do things to be proactive to try to get out of this system, and the system of contracting, the system of dealing with debt, the system of dealing with the credit system. I mean, all this stuff was the creation of your central banks. Now, Roman civil law is kind of the basis of all law in the world. People don't kind of realize that, but even the United States law is based off of corpus juris civilis. And that was something that was created by a Roman emperor by the name of Justinian, and then perfected in the 1400s. I believe it was the 1400s by a Roman juror by the name of Curtius. Then, so I can't really say a whole lot that took place between Babylonian time period, the Phoenicians, and Rome, and then going into Britain and then the history of the United States. I can't really say a lot in those because we're not really aware of really actually what took place in a lot of history anyways. So I try to go back as much as I can with the Roman stuff, with the British stuff, with on the UK side, in 1666, there was an act put forth called the Seste KV Act. And at the time, they were dealing with the bubonic plague, I believe, and they burned down the majority of London and majority of of Britain because of the disease. And the king at the time had passed the Seste KV Act, which was dealing with people's property and belongings, and what it does. And you can actually read this. It's spelled CESTI, next word QUE, next word VIE, Seste KV. But it basically was putting people in a lost at sea kind of thing. People had to kind of come back and reclaim their property that because of everything that was taking place within the kingdom at the time so the 1666, it's a really key thing that took place. But again, like a lot of the history is not really spelled out for you as to what's correct. So, I mean, for me to get what works for us here in the United States, it was easier to kind of go in that sense because of how history is and the distortions of what we're being told versus what actually existed. But so we had 1666. Now we could fast forward to 1758. You had Emir de Vattel, who wrote The Law of Nations. Some people know the book is Vattel's Law of Nations. That's one of Eric Sullivan's favorite books. It basically was a document put together on how nations are established and interact and operate within the context of a nation state. And then within the 1800s throughout the early 1900s, all those established nation states were transmigrated into becoming corporations, and each corporation being a subdivision of the crown. Now, this isn't like the British crown as the royal family. This is the City of London, the Crown Incorporated, your Rothschild, your banking families. It's some really interesting things. So in the Act of 1871 is when the United States was officially put into the corporation status, being the primary subdivision became the United States. And a new corporation was created. 1933, on March 9th, 1933 is when that corporation went bankrupt. That's another important thing that people need to realize. Now, it seemed like a lot of really crazy things were going on, as I mentioned, during the Abraham Lincoln time period. And I'm not really sure if a lot of things he was doing was for the good of the people or for the good of the banks. He was ultimately assassinated. We don't know who assassinated him or what specifically for. In his tenure as president, I mean, like the first 30 days, I think he did like over 100 executive orders. One of them being General Order number 100, I believe is the number. And it was putting us under a martial rule status, not martial law. It's a little bit different, but martial rule. Because at that time period is when you had the beginning of the Civil War and the southern states walked out of Congress. And there's a word for that. When the government has like the particular part that walks out, it is, see here. I have so many notes regarding this subject because a lot of this information, when you're dealing with court cases and specific acts and things like that, it's hard to recall.
So you mentioned, while you look for that, you mentioned the Act of 1871. You said.
Mm-hmm. That's when DC. That's when DC was. Okay, that's when DC was incorporated. Now, see, right. with also some of the things that that Lincoln did, the Lieber Code, that was putting us under martial rule, and then there was also extending out the territories of DC, because originally DC was only authorized to deal with commerce. As I said, they were the federal government who was supposed to be acting in international business on behalf of the Federation of States. Because we had the Civil War, then you have, and I think it's if somebody in the chat knows what it's called when the it's sign die. That's it, exactly. Thank you, Nathaniel. So when that took place and those Southern congressmen walked out of Congress, the government was done. And Abraham Lincoln installed powers for him that allowed him to do things without Congress and Senate because we didn't really have a Congress.
Okay.
And then we had the 14th Amendment, which made everybody U.S. citizens, and then he was assassinated. Then you had the Act of 1871 put forth. The Act of 1871 extended out the territories of D.C. So where D.C. was only authorized to deal with the commerce, now they spread the commerce all over the United States and then break the United States up into federal districts of D.C. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So my question about this whole DC thing to this day, why do we have a District of Columbia? Why is that its own? Is it looked at differently from the state?
Yeah, it is. It's not a state.
Okay.
It's
right.
It's not on the same level as Puerto Rico either, which is not a state.
So why do we still have that?
They have their own governing system there, their own mayor, everything. It's not a state. It's not technically under the United States. It's not. It is.
That's what I was trying to
It's
get
almost
to.
its own nation in a sense, and that's where the Act of 1871 extending out the territorial power of that little territory is what it did. That's again, everything's broken into federal districts. The entire United States is broken up into federal districts. Everybody has federal courts. When they go into a federal court specifically, they're like walking on DC soil. You're under jurisdiction of the federal government, which is only supposed to be authorized to deal with commerce and what, for the Confederated States.
So Prayer Bear says that DC governs us.
And now we go into what we're saying. Now, see, back before the Civil War, we had all these checks and balance systems. But then when you had the sign die thing and the people walk out of Congress, the government fell apart. The one thing when they starting to put everything back together, you heard the term restoration. They were supposed to restore the republic. That never happened. Lincoln was assassinated. The Act of 1871 took place. So that's where I'm not sure about which way Lincoln was leaning ultimately. And then, as I mentioned to you earlier too, you can look at that papal bull that was put forth November 18, 1302, called Unum Sanctum, which was where the Pope was declaring that the Catholic Church and the Pope owned all land, flesh, and souls.
Wow.
It's some really creepy stuff. I mean, this goes back into some really dark things as well. And I mean, there's enough research on this to know that this is an existing thing. I'm trying to find factual evidence proof, like I mentioned before, like finding out where I'm being traded as a commodity. Even look at the United States being traded as a commodity. But the thing about the UCC, the legal and the monetary system binds the flesh commerce system, the uniform commercial code system. So it creates a mechanism to define the relationship between three things: secured parties, creditors, debtors, and the collateral. The debt obligations, not all are filed in UCC recordings, but most are filed in those. And some people look at the UCC-1 form. It's a financial statement. It's supposed to establish who the secured parties are, the creditor, what's secured against the debtor, and who's the obligated party, as well as what the collateral is. So, and that all, again, falls under contract law. Everything's a contract. We deal with licenses, we deal with permits, we deal with certificates. You can't do anything without getting one of those things. Most, except for Alabama, all states issue marriage certificates. You have to have a certificate from your state government saying that you're married. Used to be you could just write that in a Bible. They changed things over from a lawful people to a legal person. Now, so on paper, everything that we do is commerce.
Right.
Your social security number, there's a number for your live birth, your live certificate of birth.
Right.
All these things, and like one of these would be like your main account, and then the others would be derivatives off these accounts. Every time you get a ticket, there's a derivative created, and it's supposed to be a back-end financial system. This is where people talk about creditor accounts and whether or not people have money due to them. in doing all these studies, this is not my point in trying to learn about this, is to try to get my debt paid off and get some sort of possible a trust that I have access to. This is more about just freedom, getting out of this system. What are we saying in the chat here?
So, well, someone was talking about how Britain still owns us, essentially. Do you agree with that? I wouldn't agree. I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, it's the banks. It's not so much like the Queen and the royal family, but the City of London. See, the City of London and Vatican City had the same equivalency as your District of Columbia. And some people say the three work in conjunction and call it the Triple Crown.
Okay.
Yeah, you got your banking, your religion, and your military.
Yeah. That's definitely it.
It's really all you need.
It. That's all you need.
And that's when you think about, when I just said that, and I told you about the papal bull where the Pope is declaring they own all land, flesh, and souls, and then you have the 1666 Seste KV Act talking about being lost at sea and reclaiming your property. I mean, we are dead. We're living as we're like the Walking Dead. That's kind of like a metaphor for all this. Like, we are the Walking Dead, and some of us are trying to claim our life, come out of this death status.
Dime Bar makes an interesting statement, and I don't know if you've done any research on this part.
He's right.
The marriage thing. I'm talking about the marriage. So that's the whole reason to have a marriage certificate and to register
birth certificates and everything and all that, man.
Is so that they have control over your kids.
When you're born, you're a ward of your state, and your parents are given permission to take care of you. Mm-hmm. That's why the CPS, which is not even a government agency, can come in here and do things that they can to families, is because you don't have, even though you have custody of your daughter on paper, if the government wants to take your kid away from you, bro, they're taking your kid. Unless you're going to get your gun out and you're going to shoot them.
Which I'm going to go to jail for if they afterwards, and they're going to take my kid anyway.
It's screwed up, dude. The CPS you could talk to a lot of people about CPS. It's probably one of the most corrupt organizations. Some people even question whether or not it's tied to like some of these child trafficking organizations in some sense, because some of these kids, man, get lost in the system. If you're in a bigger area, you see how like people can get lost.
Of course.
And you get lost and nobody knows to care about you. I mean, it's a dark thing, dude. Everything that we're doing ultimately is daily. We are contracting into all these things unknowingly, which makes us liable for these actions, and everything is spelled out in front of us. It's just we have to think for ourselves. We have to educate ourselves. At one point in time, when you have a bunch of older people who know this information die off, and then they start changing the education system and the curriculum to teach you something different, then you don't know really what happened, the truth of what actually happened. I even told you before, I even question whether or not some of these people ever existed. Did they really write the Constitution out? Is this a story that was made up by somebody? I don't really know.
You don't. The thing is that's why I always say, like, we shouldn't cover up history just because it's bad, right? We shouldn't delete the bad parts of history. You know what I'm saying?
No, because
we're doing a lot of the cancel culturing. The cancel culture is real prevalent nowadays, and
it's
we're canceling a lot of stuff.
I mean, tearing down statues and things like that. I mean, I may not agree about what some of these things represent, but
of course not. But to delete it,
we won't remember what we did.
We won't remember what we did.
And how do we avoid making the same mistakes?
Exactly.
It's crazy, dude.
Exactly.
So apparently, every single event that we do that takes place in our life is done through our commercial vehicle, which is us. It's a vessel. It creates a securitized debt. After 1933, when I was saying that we went into a bankruptcy status, the corporate Congress became the managing administration or the executor of the bankrupt estate. That's when they started calling like a president's term an administration, because they were the administrators of the debt, and we are the surety. We're the collateral. It's us who are. It's our energies. Everything that we do is the currency of this world. It's crazy when you think about it, when you really get into researching all this stuff. So once we got into that bankrupt status in 1933, that's when we also seen the Administrative Procedures Acts, the Securities and created, the Security Exchange created, the banking regulation changes, all this stuff. And the SEC has the authority to manage, control, and regulate all securities. That, if you think about what's securitized in this world, there's a lot of things that are securitized. The SEC is actually, like I had mentioned before, is a lot more
deeply tied. Yeah. Maybe we can get into that portion in a bit. I got a question for you as regards to this UCC. So from my understanding, there are 10, 8, something like that articles. What does that mean? What does each article
I can definitely tell you I'm not really very well versed on what these specific terms are.
Okay.
And the purpose was because I wanted to get a general idea of what all these things were before I was taking time to find out, because I've heard a lot of people talking about using the UCC one and financial statement, but I have not heard anything success or seen any success out of that. So I didn't want to waste a lot of time. Just knowing that it represents the comprehensive law set that regulates the commerce in the United States is what's important and relevant, because it works as a uniform commerce system all throughout the United States. There's nothing different about it. And if we are commerce and the things that we do are commerce, that's how it would be interrelated. And this is, again, what I'm trying to do with putting together all this research and all this information, is so that I can start digging in further, putting out these timelines and putting out this information. I will just definitely tell you that reading UCC law is not one of the most exciting things to do. And it's probably designed to be like that as well.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not. But apparently all living beings who are birthed into this world are birthed into the system of commerce. And it's even the whole entire birthing event is really interesting, and it ultimately it's what turns us into a franchise of this corporate system, which is basically bankrupt and working on debt. It's
So I'm getting ready to have a young lad, a young son, come into the world in January, right? So if I hypothetically, he's born, and I say I don't want a birth certificate, or do they force that on you? Yeah. They force that on you.
They pretty much will. And I really, right at this point, without me having a lot more information, I wouldn't recommend it. But what I'm starting to understand is that a minor coming into the age of, I don't know if it's from going as of 18 or as of 21, I think there's a remedy that could be done for someone who's that young. Because when you're a minor going into this system, being signed into it by your parents, you can't be held to a contract your parents are signing, because you're not party to the contract per se. How can you be held liable to all the things on a birth certificate if you didn't sign that certificate? Just because you're the one on the certificate doesn't make you liable, because you didn't agree to any of those terms. So I think there is something that's a remedy for someone who's 18 or 21. And that is something that I'm trying to look a little bit more into. But I think that unless you were to have a kid born off the record under the table where the system didn't know about it, because when you don't do things that the government is telling you that you're supposed to do, they'll threaten to take your child away.
Exactly.
And I don't think they'll even let you leave with the child out of the hospital legally.
I don't think so either.
If you don't comply with it's force, dude. It's complete force. And anything that's requiring force is not something that should be condoned and people shouldn't be complying with. But we've been fooled and conditioned and tricked into this, man. So, I mean, the whole point is to talk about it learn about it, figure out what we need to do together, collectively together, and make these changes and correct these situations, because there was a Republic of the United States prior to today, and whatever is existing today is not what was intended to be. And we have remedies to fix that. We just need to educate ourselves. We need to re-educate, because the education we've been taught, for the most part, I've been having to re-educate myself since school.
Yep.
Like, because I didn't really learn what I needed to learn in school. So
You talk about the United States previously being a republic. Like, how do you feel about that? A lot of people think we still live in a republic. Some people think we live in a democracy. What is your take on it? What do we live in? And kind of explain the difference, because there is a difference.
Well, I mean, a republic is going to be basically your states are going to be governing themselves, and
that's what a United States
government doesn't have like any say in that. Again, the federal government was supposed to be created to deal with the commerce and protection of our rights, to deal with commerce on an international level, to represent all the different states, because there were so many states. So the states didn't individually, like we said, each state is their own nation. It's just a States United Nations in a sense, but it's not the United Nations, but it's a confederacy of nations. And then they elected the federal government to represent on an international level. But then again, like I said, it was during the Restoration period, after the Civil War, the aftermath, when we were supposed to have restored our republic, the republic didn't get restored, and the central banks, your Rothschilds, came in and really essentially did what they wanted to do from the beginning. Now, if you look at the creation of this country, you look at the Revolutionary War, we borrowed money from France. We were in debt to France. I believe the way all that stuff was paid off is it still kind of came back through the Rothschilds, who paid that debt off for us, and then we owed them the debt. So even though we won the Revolutionary War, we were still indebted to the City of London.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andrew Jackson cleared us, got us away from everything. Now, it wasn't too far in front of Lincoln. We're talking like 20, 30 years in front of Lincoln, roughly. And then Lincoln, all the stuff with the Civil War. I mean, it goes into a lot of stuff when it goes into the history of the United States. That's why this is so kind of complex to get into. I mean, we're just talking about just the United States, too. I mean, we're not going into the complexities of the British system, how the Vatican and Rome started working within the UK. I mean, this system goes really deep, but it starts for us at the time of birth. The whole wording of the whole birthing system, everything about it is putting us in a commerce system. Mm-hmm. When I talk about maritime and admiralty law and UCC, this is the law of the water.
Right.
When you're born from your mother's water. You're coming through her canal. And you're birthed. There's actually a birthing term in with boating. It's spelled BERTH. When you park a boat at a dock, it's in a berthing. I've always wondered, why are they called doctors? Apparently they're like a type of a harbor master. In a way, wow. they're taking in the vessel from the mothership.
Wow, I never even thought about that one, man.
And then when you want to get into some crazy stuff, you start looking into some things like with the creation of the names of the states in the United States. I mean, apparently, I'm from Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. Spent a lot of time in Maryland. Never thought about this, but Maryland, you've got Mary. Virginia, you got virgins. You have Virgin Mary. And if you want to look at Virgin in Maryland, Virginia and Maryland, they took in the womb of the two, the Virgin Mary, and created DC. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's some really wild stuff that comes into play. And a lot of this could be like forms of geomancy, where locations are set, like we said before, on specific areas because of the energy properties that they have. Mm-hmm. Certain wording.
Isn't DC a energy? Doesn't DC have a grid point?
Supposedly it's on a grid point, and then I think there's I think it actually makes out to be a pentagram in some couple different fashions when you look at the whole layout and the way that
Yeah,
things
a
are
black
laid out.
man designed the DC.
Okay. I mean, if DC's been burned down, rebuilt, gone through so
No,
much
but he
stuff.
designed it off of a lot of the occult stuff.
Was he Mason, like a potentially a
I
Mason
can't
or anything like
remember.
that?
I can't remember.
Because even like a lot of our founding fathers, they were Masons. George Washington, I believe, was a master Mason. And there's a lot of Masonic stuff, and like pictures you can see from that time period.
You know, the one big tower. Well, not towers, like
The monument.
the
it's
big
like
one with the pier with
the Washington Monument.
I guess it. No, it's the real high. I forgot the name. I'm embarrassed that I'm not.
Well, the monument is the real high, long, kind of obelisk-looking tower thing with a point
tower thing, right? That's supposed to be like phallus. I think
there's a lot of
Egyptian.
See, that's where we can have a really cool conversation about some of the spirituality stuff, because that's how deep this goes, though. This kind of incorporates a lot of elements of all these things. And if you think that there is a battle going on between light and darkness, this will definitely be the darkness of the world. You know, it's keeping us dead. It's crazy, man. So once, we can talk more about the etymology of the words of the birthing system, but once you are born and you have what's happened is you're converted into a vital record. That then is creating a birth certificate. The certificate is evidence of a debt, and it's a form of a bond. And if somebody wants to look at some of their birth certificates or certificates of birth, you'll even see on the backs of some of them that it will say it's printed on like bonded paper. It'll say things about this is a bond, this is a security. There are things in relation to that on some of these, and it varies per state as far as like what some of them look like. But the system of vital records at the county, state, national, and international level is basically creating an inventory. And it's an inventory of what they would define as their franchises, their bankrupted entities, because the nation states are acting as bankrupted national corporations. And our birth certificate creates us as a franchise of that system. And we have privileges and benefits, and we have burdens, and we have obligations. It's just very corporate. It really what it does, I mean, it allows us to operate into the commerce system, because everything that happens in our name, like I said, is apparently creating a form of a trust, a security. It's basically creating monetized debt. And all that debt's bonded, certificated as a certificated record used in both the public and private to create circulating mediums or currency in the form of monetized debt, which is basically creating this perpetual enslavement system. So the living being was put into a position of being surety, which means that we're the guarantor. We're the debt of the nation is put on people. We're bonded and we're attached to the system. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
So the birth certificate would be the primary certificate. And then so like your driver's licenses, tickets, court cases, judgments, those things would be creating derivatives. And apparently there is like a back-end financial system, and these things are traded off books. But these are not things that I have access to. So, I mean, if somebody can provide information with these kind of things, these are the things that I'm trying to find some more information
So
on.
let me ask you this. My man Will Mack says, and this kind of, I'm going to ask the question after this statement I read from him. Don't listen to any of this UCC stuff. It's complete BS. So do you think, how much of going down this rabbit hole do you feel you believe? Like, what percentage are you in believing this stuff? Believing that there's some type of code, Da Vinci code to crack, and then you're a free man after, like, what's your assessment so far going down this rabbit hole with this UCC stuff
There's
and how to
something-
leverage it?
well-
We know it exists.
Right. No,
right?
there is
UCC exists.
there's something to this entire thing. I don't generally include UCC in any of my conversations. I more talk about common law, maritime admiralty law,
Okay.
which UCC would be a part of the overall. So I kind of look at the bigger picture of the things. I don't try to get into the UCC. Plus, UCC is kind of like, if you start using the word sovereign citizen, it's usually one of these like, oh, these guys are about to talk about some crazy stuff. But like I had mentioned to you before, there are people have been successful. We know of lots of different groups that are involved in these types of movements. We talked about the Moorish community.
Yep.
There is something to this. We have been fooled and conditioned. I have seen enough evidence with the people involved in our government in just the last 120 years to be able to determine that there is something not right. And there is a way for us to have a remedy. What that remedy is, I don't know exactly. That's why I'm trying to talk to all these different people, like I've mentioned that I've interviewed, trying to figure out if people need to change their status.
But you've come in, you've run into some friction with a lot of these cats, you know? And I like that. Like, you're coming at it from an open-ended kind of
Because a lot
not
of them
biased point of view.
Because I'm trying to say that not one way is the only way to freedom.
Right.
And all these other groups are trying to are like, this is the only way to freedom. And I'm like, isn't that kind of contradictory to
That's the
to how
same
freedom
thing
works?
that right.
You know, like, you're telling me there's only one way and it's your way, or I can't be free, and then I have to contract with you to do that. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to call out things for what I'm seeing it because I'm trying to learn what is truthful, what's working and what's not working, what different ways that we can figure out how to get to the same endpoint so that people can have choices and to do these. Now, as soon as I'm able to get a little bit more clarity on a few things, and I'm kind of getting close, I'm going to start trying to test the ground with a lot of this that I'm talking about. I'm not married. My child's over 18. I don't own a lot of property on paper. Don't have a driver's license. Don't own a car. Real easy for me to try to test a lot of this stuff out.
Oh, so you don't have a driver's license?
No.
Wow.
And I'm going to actually do everything I can to ultimately try to dissolve all those contracts. Like, I'm going to quit the DMV club. I'm just going to
Yeah, but you're still going to have a state ID.
No,
No?
because some people are creating their own IDs.
Okay, so what about when we talk about we're in crypto, you know, your name's Rice Crypto, I'm Crypto Blood. So we're trying to exit the banking system anyhow. But there's still a lot of things we have to do through the banking system. How are you going to go about that? Do you just keep whatever bank
out is this is where there's so many different people who are who are basically saying this is the only way to do it. We're trying to figure out ways that you can take control of your legal fiction and utilize but you need to know what you're doing, because if you don't know how to properly navigate through the waters, you're just going to drown is what's going to end up happening.
But my skepticism of this whole topic is not the fact of the matter of whether it's real or not. If it's true, I think there's a lot of truthfulness in what we're talking about for sure. My skepticism is on the premise of we know governments move the goalposts. They'll move the goalposts. So it doesn't matter if we're right. They'll move the goalposts so that, now we're in error and we're, breaking the law of some sort. Do you fear that's a possibility?
I mean, I'm being very careful of not doing anything that would be considered to be seditious or treasonous. So that's not my goal at all. My goal is to be more patriotic than anything, to reestablish things that were supposed to be the way they were, that were changed when we were all created as U.S. citizens. I really believe that there is something to this. ultimately there's so much information out there, so much misinformation and disinformation, and history is so distorted. It's having to sift through everything and figure out what is right, what's working. And that's why I'm pulling together people in my Telegram group. And that's why I think some of these other groups are trying to work together to try to figure out these answers to these problems, because it's not something that one person can do in a short period of time. Some of these people I've been speaking to have been researching this stuff for 30 years. And I really feel like if I could pull the right people together in the room, they all have enough of the information together that we could figure out what needs to be done. But the egos won't allow it to happen.
Technophily is saying we should check out Ken Cousins, Gemstone University. Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah, Ken Cousins is somebody who I'm hopefully going to be having on in January. He's Gemstone University is the education platform for Pantera. I think it's PCA or PSA. It's a private contract associated with PCA, Pantera PCA. He's very knowledgeable. I'm thinking that he may have a lot of the answers, and I've been right now going through a lot of his information. There is he's recommending people to listen to a series of interviews he's been doing with a gentleman by the name of Sean McGuire since the beginning of this year, and they're up to part 11, and these videos are about 2 hours average. So I'm trying to absorb that information while also keeping up with my other research. He has a lot of good information. David Straight has a lot of good information. I think that a good portion of Audubon rights and what she's trying to do with the American States Assembly has a lot of good information, but there's also a lot of information I don't think is really correct with what they're trying to do either. So again, that's where I'm trying to learn from people. And I'm hoping to interview Ken.
Nate says KC is very much like a cult.
Like
so
a
we'll
cult?
See. A cult, yeah. Like they have their upper echelon, they have their layers and levels to it, to their whole following. But see what comes from it when you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to learn, man. That's, I mean, ultimately, I'm trying to learn from all these people, and Ken's another person who's been, I want to say, since late '80s, he's been researching this. So if I can save myself years of research by talking to these people and picking their brains, start fact checking their research, start seeing what is and what isn't. Real quick, just to go back to the whole DC thing, I just wanted to let everyone know I was talking about this guy, Benjamin Banneker. He's a black guy that basically architect or kind of designed the layout of DC. Many people don't know that. He's also first guy to create a running clock in America successfully. So that's a little black history for y'all out there. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a Mason though. I don't know. I don't think
that there was any racist issues in the Masonic Lodge. So I just think it was more of like your intelligence and what you could offer.
You know what?
I don't know.
I've never been the type to assimilate like and join groups, but and I've kind of someone has actually invited me to become a Mason, and I just was like, I thought about it for a while. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just never thought I would be interested in that. But I
mean, it'd be cool if like you could go there, check it out without like being like seriously considering it.
Yeah, it would be
just to see what the experience is like. But then you don't know if you're really getting a fake experience. I don't know how that would work.
Exactly. I just feel like the people, like 99% of the Masons don't. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, but 99% of them probably it's the same thing. It's human nature. Like there's levels to it, right? So all the real powerful stuff is kind of
like you're
relegated to a select few.
Yeah, your general Masons aren't going to know about if there is a 33rd degree or above like that. It's not, or they may know the general 33, but anything that people would consider to be like Illuminati or anything like that would definitely be a very small select group, and it wouldn't be like a best of from every lodge or anything like that.
So I said all that to say you talked about like black people and Masons. I think my understanding is that Prince Hall, they split. Prince Hall is the kind of like the black side of the Mason whole thing.
Okay.
You know anything about that?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I'm trying to look a little bit into the history of the Masons and stuff. I mean, everything I just said, I mean, it's a lot of stuff to research, and the Masons are I'm not really sure what role that these potential secret societies play in anything, if any.
Nate says
all
that the
speculative.
Scottish Rite Lodge has 33 levels, but the regular lodge only has 3 levels. I don't know anything. I don't know too much about the Masons and stuff.
Yeah, and then if you do meet a Mason, like I've interviewed people who are Masons, are they really going to give you correct information? Are they going to give you disinformation on purpose? I mean, it's a crazy world to live in, and it's like when you're dealing with those subjects, you almost have to take a little bit of a grain of salt, but also stay open-minded at the same time. I mean, I'm talking to people.
I just want the truth, bro.
Well, what if the truth? What if the truth are reptilians are here, man?
I'm cool with that.
Okay,
I'm already prepared for that type of stuff. To be honest with
for
you,
the reptilians specifically.
I am, because I've already kind of put the whole religious thing aside. Like, on my quest to find the truth, I found out a lot of falsehoods about religions. So I think like I've been past the point of no return, bro. Like that third eye stuff, that I'm at that point where I can't go back now. I can't go back to what I was raised on with my grandparents and my mom, and
yeah,
it's too like I've researched the truth on that tip. So now
Times
I'm ready
are definitely
for whatever,
changing,
bro.
man. Times are definitely changing. It's a crazy world that we live in, man. And when you think about these kind of things, I mean, like ultimately, dude, like the reason this freedom stuff is so important is because I see like our freedom of speech being put under attack. I see people
Do we even have freedom of speech anymore?
Well,
like real talk.
We haven't lost it. It's still potentially, it's lingering.
I don't know, man.
So,
like,
I mean,
we say we do.
The idea of these vaccinations coming up, the idea that they could be forcing people to take these vaccinations, everything just going on, man. Just people need to wake up and educate themselves as to what's going on and look at the bigger picture of the agenda and then why this is all set down and how this has been systematically built to be where we are now. I mean, our education system should be an indication of a lot of that.
True.
I mean, you go to school and they want you to pledge allegiance to the flag and then learn this curriculum that they've designed for you. And I've shown where, like, once they started offering
as a black
federal,
man,
funding,
I think a lot of black people are definitely like, if it's messed up for all of us, for white people, you know it's messed up for us. Like, America is not.
Well, technically, we're all on the same level. You know, that's the thing. The 14th Amendment, like a lot of people,
somewhat, but
right.
I differ.
We don't have complete equality. I get that. Right. Not social equality.
Right.
I totally agree.
But if you're under the whole umbrella of
per the government,
yes,
we're all the same. You know.
Yes.
You're poor or you got money. You're somebody or a nobody.
Yep.
And they make a lot of people nobodies. They keep people down, man. Like just look at our world, man. Look at everything's going on. They're keeping people down. I mean, and then you look at everything happening this year and how much, dude, I'm really getting tired of seeing people comply with everything.
Well, in a crisis, that's what normally, that's when they take even more control over, you know what I'm saying? They use crisis as an opportunity to take more control away. It happens every time. Look at
if
what
it was a legit
9/11.
crisis, that would make complete sense.
Oh, we're talking about COVID?
Well, I'm just talking about everything, dude. It just seems, but COVID does seem to be a little bit like, it doesn't seem to be as bad as they're making it out to be.
I get mixed signals, man. I was talking to my wife today. She said,
still haven't met anybody who's died from it.
freezers full of dead bodies from this COVID stuff, bro. They can't even. It's crazy.
That's what I'm saying though. Like I feel like I live like on a different part of the world or even another planet. Man.
I know.
Like you got dead people dying in your area and like freezers full of them, and I'm like
full of. And this is not someone who knows someone like my wife works in
the medical
pathology,
industry.
in the morgue, all that stuff, right? So this is first hand eyewitness on this type of stuff that's going on here in the Metro Detroit area.
I mean, I've never said that what you've said that you've experienced in your wife's experience.
No, I'm not saying
downplaying it. It's just
no. I know you never have, but I'm just saying like
it's
I can understand your perspective because my boy is in North Carolina, and he's like.
Did you hear what they're doing here? So as of Friday, we've got a 10 p.m. curfew. And bars have to stop serving at 9 o'clock. And non-essential businesses got to be closed up.
Oh, we've been on that tip. So welcome to Michigan.
Well, they came. That happened, and then they started opening things back up, and then and now they're like tightening back down again.
Same here because the cases start rising again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing about that. I'm hearing that. That's what they say. Right. But again, I'm not. I can go to a store. I can go to the bar. I can go walk down the street and ask somebody, "Hey, have you met anybody today? Or you guys COVID? You know anybody who died of COVID?" Nope. It's just the weirdest thing, dude. I don't. It's so confusing. It's like we're having like act like there's this plague going on, like we're all just gonna die if we walk outside, like it's radiation or something.
Here's the thing with the whole virus though, like I just don't know what the perfect balance is for this to handle this. I mean we're shutting back down, and it's starting to get real cold here, so a lot of restaurants can't have outdoor seating anymore. Because that's how they were surviving. Of course, carry-outs, outdoor seating. But what's going to happen in the winter when it's,
there's these places that are, I don't know if I can remember the name of the place, but I've seen somebody posting up pictures where this place had like these little bubble domes that sat like 4 people. Mm-hmm. And there was a bunch of little bubble domes. So everybody had like their own little bubble dome to sit and eat at. So they can get around with having people outside to eat. They had little heaters and stuff out there. I mean, it's crazy to think that that's going to be our future, though, man.
I don't think it's going to be a future for more than a year or two. Like, honestly, I think a lot of people will take this vaccine. I'm not going to, but all you need is like 50%, 40% of the people to take it, and it creates a pseudo herd immunity because you kind of protect. You get what I'm saying? Like the virus can't travel to that next person if two or three people in that circle have the vaccine. So I'm just gonna let people take it, and then.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not. No, I'm not taking nothing. I'm not until there's. I mean, something like that needs to go through proper clinical testing, and they're not obviously doing that. And man, it's just, I mean, this is something we can go on forever with. And I still want to do like some roundtable conversations where we could even talk about this, but to kind of wrap things up on this, and then we can maybe do some callers is, with everything that I've said that I went over, basically, there's a presumption of consent that being attached to each one of us. And it's by our actions every day that we're consenting to these agreements. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm trying to find out again if a remedy would be being able to take control of this legal fiction and use it to our benefit. If that's possible. I don't like the idea of just getting out of a system entirely, because then you essentially wouldn't be able to travel because no one's going to accept your handmade passport. So you couldn't travel outside the United States. You wouldn't be able to bank. You wouldn't be able to have a job unless it was under the table paying you cash. So there's a lot of things that would be disadvantaged. That's why I said like being a franchisee of a bankrupt corporation. I mean, you do have benefits. There are benefits to the system, but at the same time, you are perpetually enslaved.
I mean,
And you have duties and obligations too. You got to pay these taxes. You got to pay all these different things, man.
but what does it look like not being in the system, man?
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to be, unless we were able to have alternate systems that interacted with each other, kind of like blockchain that has cross-chain communication. You know, like I don't want to participate in this banking system. I want to participate in this one.
It's not gonna happen. You just said it. Triple crown, baby. Triple crown is in effect.
When enough people take a stand, I mean, ultimately, again, nothing can stand against the people. I mean, I think that if
but we're so I don't even the people. Come on,
I'm not giving up hope, man. I'm just not gonna give up.
I am. I just can't. The tomfoolery I see on social media when I get on social media, which is almost never, the stuff I see on there, bro, it's no way we are ready to have an uprising by the people.
I'm not giving up. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm not giving up. And I'm planting all kinds of seeds for the future. So if I have to be Johnny Future Seed, that's what I'll be.
Shout out to John Hill. He said, y'all hear people are having allergic reactions to the vaccine. And then someone else said, yeah, they saw the headline on this today. I didn't hear about this.
What is the headline? About people having issues with the vaccine?
Yeah, there's some allergic reactions going on with it.
I mean, I've been hearing people have been losing feeling. I've been hearing, like, I've even heard, like, whether or not it's real, people are, don't, like, feel numb, like, with their emotions and stuff. I don't know if it's real. I don't know what to believe anymore, man. I really don't. It's like we got to take a vaccine for an imaginary thing that I've not experienced. It's like I live on an island somewhere. I'm like,
oh man. So here's my thing, bro. Like, you know, we're in crypto, right? And this community was supposed to be the woke community.
Those woke earlier guys got rich and stopped caring about humanity.
This is what I'm saying, bro. I'm starting to think it's not the system, it's the human. We're the problem.
Yeah, obviously, dude, if you look at this planet, I mean, logically speaking, I mean, that's why, like, that show, The 100, they have an AI thing in one of their, I think it's series 3 and 4. The AI is like trying to help humanity. If a computer system was to logically review all the problems on this planet and say, what is the biggest threat and the biggest problem to this planet? Logically, you would honestly have to deduce it's us.
Exactly.
And then how do you fix the problem? You get rid of the problem, which eliminate us. But I think that we can. There's a point of evolving, man. There's a point where we're going to have to evolve back into something that's going to be a little bit more harmonious and live synchronistically. I couldn't even pronounce that word, synchronistically. There we go. I got it out. You know, as opposed to like being against the grain. When people start waking up to these systems, the way the world operates, the way everything is, it's hopefully people will get to a point where we're going to start looking at ways to effectively, not have that insanity syndrome that we keep trying to fix the same problem with the same recourse all the time and just constantly making the same mistake. We need to break that cycle. And I think that we will eventually break that cycle. People are starting to wake up. I mean, just this election, when you said,
did you see, speaking of election and vaccines, did you see what the 3 previous presidents are going to do? They're going to take it on live TV.
No, really?
Did you hear about that?
What, they're gonna take the vaccine on TV?
Clinton. I want to say Obama.
Is this gonna be like
And
MTV Cribs with the vaccine edition? Are we gonna get to see the whole experience?
My whole thing is, so my wife says that one of her coworkers saw that Obama was sick. She's a black lady. One of her coworkers sees that Obama is sick. She's like, "Oh well, I see Obama's gonna take it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take it." I'm like, "Oh my!"
But we don't even know what they're gonna take, and I've seen
they could be taking a placebo.
I've seen pictures where they said they were giving somebody a shot, and you could tell that they weren't actually getting the shot, but they tried to make it look like they were getting the shot and just play it off. And then someone slowed down the video and was like showing like the cap wasn't removed and like all this other stuff. It's like there's no way that could have given a shot. This was like one of some leader of a country.
Three Amigos public execution, man. They not taking that darn vaccine, bro. It's all for show. They wouldn't. I don't think they would take it. What do you think? Let's get we got 10 Pound in the building with us, and then we got a caller as well. Let's get this caller first before we get 10 Pound on. Let's see here. Have the caller unmute. Get them on. Who's calling in tonight? Thanks for joining.
Yo, man, it's Default, man.
Default in the building. Lick a shot for Default. What's going on, bro?
Man, I just wanted to comment on racist commentary. He's saying he's living on an island. I think that's true because I don't think you're around people, man. People don't know what's going on. Like they lost in everything. They think everything's gonna go back to normal in 2 months. Like it's pretty much over. But also, I wanted to share like that article with the vaccine. They were saying people that have like allergies shouldn't take it. They were like, if you don't have any type of allergies,
that's millions of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got allergies.
So there's something wrong. There's something wrong with that with the vaccine.
So Default, I don't want to disclose what state you're in, if, for whatever, if you don't want to, but where you are in America, what does the virus look like to you? Are people highly affected by it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, in my county, like I'm like in the Philly area, like around the surrounding area, whatever. Like their cases are spiking again. I know my family and stuff like that. Like multiple people had it. Like my uncle, my aunt, my grandmother just had it. They're all recovered though, fortunately. Like it's still spreading, man, and people still like out with no mask. Like they're gonna store them a mask stuff on, but it's spreading. It ain't gonna stop. It's just gonna keep going. So pretty much screwed. But we knew this for months. It's just now it's just catching up because people took it light, and people didn't believe it or thought it was 5G. And now it's, it's common. Like every day I'm hearing somebody new having it. Yeah. Like a lot of groups I'm in, a lot of people are like, yo, I got it. I got from from a sibling or from
you hear Rudy got it. Rudy Giuliani.
What?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Rudy caught the vid.
Got the Rona.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say.
Hey man, Default, my man Rice don't believe in it, man. I don't blame him.
I don't believe in it, man. You know that.
No, but
I'm just saying I'm not
haven't seen anyone.
Yeah, I'm not experiencing anything you guys are experiencing. I'm living in Salem, North Carolina. I'm hearing people that people have it. I've heard that there's a rise on cases, but I'm not
on that island, man.
I'm not me. It's not like I'm staying in my house 100% of the time. I'm going out. I'm communicating with people. I've got people go out and communicate with other people. I'm not just like sitting here in a cave under a rock, just assuming. I'm actually trying to find people like I'd like to meet somebody who's got this mythical disease.
Oh no, Rice, you got no state ID, no driver's license.
Oh, I got an ID. I mean, I'm not out of the system right now. I don't still have a driver's license, but I got an
You
ID.
be at the crib, bro.
I've been taking my vitamins, man. I've been taking my
No,
vitamins.
that's good. Vitamins help, I think.
I've been doing
for
things
sure.
to boost my immune system. I mean, I'm
You
not
know?
trying to necessarily get it. I mean, I would like to communicate with somebody and find out a little bit more. I'd like to be able to know what's going on in my area as opposed to just hearing that there's cases, but not actually meeting anybody or knowing anybody who knows people who have cases. And I can't, it's not like something that people are going to keep completely secret, man. It's not like you don't have nothing to be embarrassed about if you got.
Well, at first it was though. It was like there was a stigma around that. I know when I caught it, people were looking at me like I caught HIV or something. And I'm like, nigga, it's just COVID. It's just I'll get over it.
I mean, I'm not like I said,
don't-
I'm not trying to downplay it at any means. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
no,
when
I know
you
you're not, but
experience
I
so much
understand from
difference.
your perspective, you don't even know anybody has caught it.
Except for you.
That's crazy.
I know, except for me.
Yeah, you're really the only person I've met that I know. That's it.
That is crazy, bro. You live in
That's
Timbuktu.
crazy.
Let's get 10 Pound in here real quick. You can stay on the line, no default, if you would like. Let me see here if I can get this view right.
What's up, y'all?
View.
You okay, man?
Yeah, I'm just butthurt over Uniswap, honestly.
I was wondering, you look like something was really getting at you while like
Yeah, man, you're right. I was
entertained
man,
by just watching your body language.
Man, I was so mad, dog. I saw this coin drop from like $3, $4 to like $2.50, and I was so pressed to get that dip. But oh man, I had my slippage set at 3%, and I still didn't get that dip. I was so heated. Like, bro, I was heated. Like, yo, this whole time I was listening to you guys talk, I was so mad that I didn't.
Were you trying to get
the dip.
some orange?
No, man. I'm trading E-Force. Steve Wozniak's latest project.
Oh, man, that thing
it's-
went up too high. That
What is
thing
it?
went up too high, bro.
What is
Bro,
That joint
I
is-
got in at $1, dog. I got in at $1, bro.
Where is it
I
at
got
now?
in. It's at like 330
it?
trading
What
right
is this
now.
project?
No,
Right.
dude. Steve Wozniak's
They hyping
E-Force.
this coin, man.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hype. I'm not trying to shill, man. But I'm just
10
mad.
Pound over
I'm
here
just,
chilling, guys.
Nah, not you.
bro.
Not you. I'm saying they like the whole cycle. Like they get that one coin, they hype it, like, oh, this person, is backing it. There's like a billion, like it has like 1.5
It increased
billion in circulation.
1,400% in less than a week.
1400%. Yep, I saw that article.
Bruh, I got
Didn't you-
into this coin literally before the DAO even like registered it, set up the logo, put up the social medias. I got in like literally like when it was like under radar, bro. Like I got sources with like insider info, like you're straight up chilling.
Is this actually going to be a legit thing, or what is this?
I think, yeah, dude, it's probably going to be in the top 100 soon, but right now it's in a downtrend. Don't buy right now. Whatever you do, don't. Like, it's just so volatile.
I wasn't gonna buy because it's up 1400% in the last few weeks or whatever.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
couldn't buy.
insane,
I'd never buy
Man.
something like
Yo, dude, that thing is going to go to like $8, $12. Watch, bro. Coinbase going to list it. Binance going to list it. Huobi, OKX, all the usual suspects, bro. I'm telling you, it's going to blow up. But yeah, wait till
10 pound on the
retraces.
payroll, man.
Yeah,
that.
it
If
sounds
I'm on
like
payroll, bro.
Bro,
Can I get a sponsor deal with them? 10 Pound, you getting all the money over there.
You crazy guys. Absolutely. Anyway, so you guys are talking about the Egyptian obelisk in Washington D.C., the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
No, the Lincoln
One
Memorial is
point.
not the obelisk.
No, that's not. No, that's not.
Oh no, not the
The
Lincoln.
Washington Monument.
Washington Monument.
Washington
Excuse
Monument.
me, Washington Monument. Yeah, not the Lincoln Memorial. The Lincoln Memorial actually has Lincoln sitting inside of it.
Right.
Sorry,
There's a lot of obelisk phallus like things all around the world. I even think something like that exists in the Vatican, and a lot of the major cities. It's interesting when you look into a lot of that stuff and you start getting
this is
into the spiritual.
Egyptian. This is Egyptian inspired. This is some Egyptology type stuff going on with this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have ever like been to like that monument and looked up at the top. Yo, they got a red flashing light that flickers like frequency off the top.
No.
It's for planes.
It's for planes, bro.
Yeah, otherwise planes.
Oh, snap.
Because that thing is. Imagine on a cloudy day when
default, get your boy,
that thing
bro.
would just blend into the sky, camouflage and everything.
Yeah, for sure. But like, they got like the flag surrounding it too, and the flags are just like the same height as the red light.
Next thing you know, it'll be like something else hits the Washington Monument today and falls down out of the sky.
Nah, Tim Pound, that's for the planes.
Man.
I'm
surprised they ain't putting like a 5G little
it's 5G. It's 5G. It's Rona code. It's Rona code. They're putting out that Rona flash all around. That's how it's spreading.
So let me guess, you think the Earth is flat too, Tim Pound?
Yeah, we live in a glass dome, bro.
Oh,
I thought it was an aquarium.
Like, seriously,
y'all saw the alien?
Yeah.
Well, if you caught it earlier, CB is apparently not completely prepared. He's prepared for the Martian invasion and the reptilians. He's got it down.
I'm prepared.
Bro, apparently Israelis are like chilling with that secret info. This one guy, he couldn't hold it in. He started leaking the data, talking about how people gonna call me crazy, but I don't care. I don't care if they call me crazy. I got all my accolades. I got all my money. I'm good. I'm set. Okay. They here. They don't want you to know they're here. And pretty much saying all this, pretty much disclosing everything. And I'm just like, wow. What
I don't know
a
what to think, man. They could be amongst us. I could be one of them.
Nah, you would know.
I probably am.
Yeah,
I mean, Ray could be. I mean, he don't know about what's wrong with us.
Man. Bruh. Yo, I've actually sat down and smoked a blunt with Rice, bro. He ain't an alien.
Rice lives in Nuketown from what's that shoot 'em up game?
Fucking Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. This nigga Rice lives in Nuketown.
I live in Slab City in Cali.
He lives in Nuketown where no one else lives, bro. Like how? It's just amazing.
That's why I know. That's why nobody has it around here because I'm the only person that lives in my town. And maybe everybody moved, and that would make sense.
What's the movie that John Kerry? Not John Kerry. What's his name? The comedian. He was the only person in the
lots
town.
of comedians.
Truman Show.
Truman Show. You live in the Truman Show.
Right.
On my days.
That would be cool. I might have more subscribers on my channel if that was the case.
So default, man, what's your thought on this whole UCC thing? Have you been listening in, or you just kind of caught the tail end of the show?
I caught the tail end. I listened to the first one. It's a lot of information in the process. I'm not saying like it's I don't get into the whole law aspect of things. Honestly, I try to avoid all that type of stuff. So
I used to, man. I feel you.
Yeah, it gets to a point where you start questioning everything. But you should question everything. But it gets like you kind of like you kind of make everything conspiracy.
Start wondering if there's really a point in living anymore. You're like, well, what the fuck, man? CB is we're not going to unite. We're just fucked. What are we doing? Like,
I have no faith.
The thing is, you turn everything into conspiracy, and then like you're saying, you start getting like hopeless and stuff like that. But the thing is like the problem is with like why people don't pay attention to stuff. We talked about this like crypto and stuff like that. Like there's no incentive to because the way the system is set up.
Right.
It's set up for you just to be lulled to sleep, be entertained. And just, as long as you're making an income, you're okay. Right. You don't got to worry about anything else.
Right.
So, I know you have hope people are going to wake up and stuff like that, but there will have to be a disincentive for, the majority of people doing everything, everyday stuff that we consider every day, the way society is set up. I think this could be like the whole COVID stuff could be the breaking point. But the other factor that is like hindering stuff is like the media and stuff like that, and what they have you focus on. And so, I really don't. I think people finally realize what's going on when it's too late, and by then it'll be too late. Like my whole like, if you want to make a conspiracy theory, or you just want like, make a theory like what's going on, automation is coming. Like that's not a conspiracy. Like that's just what's going to take over like the marketplace. Like, everything's being digitalized and everything is being automated.
Yo, but default, hear me out. Default, bro. Walmart just laid off a bunch of robots though, and replaced them with humans.
Huh?
Did not.
Yeah, they did. They laid off a bunch of
What, did they have rental robots? Were they renting them or something?
Oh man, they were real robots.
Why would you shelf them?
You got to drop an article link on that one, bro.
Yeah, because
I can't trust the dot in the sky.
That could be PR.
Man, come on, bro.
But
I was
my
just joking.
point is,
give me a second. I'll pull up an article.
Hey man, did you hear a bunch of robots got laid off and it gave the job to some filthy humans?
Nah,
dude.
My point is,
bruh,
what is going to happen
right now?
Like humans, like throughout our history, like the since the Industrial Revolution, and even before that, with like farming and stuff like that, like there was a need for masses for production. The problem now is there's no need for that production because everything is going to be automated or taken by robots. So my question would be, what are they going to do with the people? Like that's where I get into like this is my like conspiracy theory. Like, but
we're going to be
look at what's going on in the trend.
We're going to be running on that hamster wheel, keeping the power going.
Bruh, check chat.
It's going to be a need for us.
Oh yeah, I got it up 10 pound.
Oh my God.
I got it up. So
Walmart lays off robots from 500 stores, hires humans for the job. Are they doing it for a PR stunt though to look good?
Of course.
Man, that's cap. Okay.
Of course.
It probably wasn't a PR stunt, but it probably was.
Will they get some robots with attitude?
10 pound, you're a fool, man.
RWA. You got robots attitudes. There's like an easy E bot and an ice bot.
Robots with an attitude.
A DJ Yellow bot.
That's hilarious.
My days.
Yeah, I don't know.
But seriously though, I think like the robots are already here. Robots are already automating things. Like, bro, I got a robot in the cloud right now, bro. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying, though. We're going to need to power all this stuff. So, I mean, we're going to be running on the hamster wheel, powering everything. And then we're going to be watching things like it's going to be like a basic attention token in Brave browser. We're going to be like attention based. We're going to be running on a hamster wheel for powering the city while we're earning some credits.
Yep.
Oh, man. It's like you got a little treadmill that you got in your house that powers the grid.
Yeah, one of us has to take turns running for power. You imagine that?
Yo, that's what they did in Rick and Morty. That's pretty much Rick and Morty, bro.
The combination of solar power and hamster wheel power.
Rick and Morty. So I got two brothers on the line. What do you guys feel about? I don't know if Rice is following this. I know he's a hip hop head or used to be old school hip hop head.
I love hip hop. Well, yeah, I don't like the new hip hop.
Okay, cool.
The mumbles.
Yeah,
the mumbles, the traps.
Agreed. What do you guys feel about what's going on in the hip hop scene right now with all these guys going to jail? You got cats getting killed in broad daylight. What's your take on that? And why aren't the BLM movement out there marching for all of these black on black crimes?
What's going on? Is there like a rapper war like going on though?
Dude, man.
Or is it just like a bunch of stuff happening at the same time? Is there a war?
You got rappers dying at a rapid pace. You got cats going to jail. The feds coming down on Casanova. What's the other guy? G Herbo from Chicago. Like the feds are coming down on this guy.
They got somebody today too.
Who did they get? T.I. safe. He's a snitch.
He turned into a snitch. He was getting
Who's
arrested all the
the
time
hoodie
for doing
dude? What's
stupid shit.
A Boogie with a hoodie?
Yeah, he got arrested.
Really?
I think it was a gun charge or something like that.
Oh, okay, gun charge. That's part of your rapper apparel.
Yeah, you have to have a gun.
You gotta have a gun. Gotta
Or
have a
else you're not.
strap.
But it was like,
Anybody? Like,
I mean,
I don't think it's anybody that I've like. It's just more of like low key players that I'm hearing though. I mean, Boogie's like done some stuff on radio in the past year or two, but
Yeah, for sure. I don't listen to him, but I've heard of him. Yeah, he's pretty popular.
but it's not like it's not like what we had. Like we don't have no Biggies getting killed or no Tupacs, no Eminems, no.
Not
Bro,
that big.
we had that.
No famous guys.
And
Famous
We already
guys.
had that last
man.
year.
all these rappers that are getting like their lives ruined and stuff, man. It's like that's some simulation theory shit, bro. Like that
What do you
don't really
mean?
matter in the grand scheme of things, man.
Oh, so Black lives don't matter.
And no, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, hear me out, bro.
you
I'm
heard
a
it
black
first.
man. I'm a black man. Okay,
okay.
all right. I
Are
do
you- what
entertainment
was that
too, bro.
Dave Chappelle character.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Man,
Clayton Bigsby.
Bruh. Come on, bro.
The,
Talking about
the blind black KKK guy.
Yeah. Come on, y'all. Outrageous out here, man.
No, but let me hear.
Next time, wear your white outfit.
I'm trying to hear you
Bruh.
out, bro. I'm trying to hear you out. What are you trying to say?
What I'm saying is that these foolish coons out here, they be going buck wild.
Clayton, ladies and gentlemen.
No, that's what
Clayton.
some of the grandpas around where I live sound like.
Right, I'm sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Clayton Bigsby online.
Yo, bro.
First black KKK member. White power.
Oh my days. Oh man, that shit hurt my stomach, bro. I can't laugh that much.
But a BML is a front group. It's a money grab.
Absolutely.
It's a money grab.
George
Like,
Soros.
where is all that money going?
But the CCP,
All that money that's
man.
getting donated to that organization. There's no account. There's no transparency. None of that money getting back to the communities. Like,
But
that's
default,
in front, man.
Why do as in Black America? Why do we not get in an uproar over all the sense like Detroit? I'm in Detroit. We just made most violent city by the FBI back in July. Dallas, Houston, crime is out of control. Black on black crime, right? This is black on black crime. We don't march for that. We don't ever get out and get upset about that. But right when a white cop kills us, that's when we want to go out and march. What's
that's
that all about?
politicized. That's politicized. Like, that organization, has a lot of capital and a lot of people, in the background pulling for that narrative. That's why I'm talking about with the whole media. Like, that's the issue with our media. It's like, the only issues that get raised is the issues that they're trying to, agenda that's being pushed. And so, for mostly the Black community, majority of Black communities in survival mode. So you're in survival mode. You're going to do whatever it takes basically to survive. Like, the whole violence and stuff like that, that's just going to be a normal place. Like, that won't change until the economic situation for the majority of Black people change. And, BML, Black Lives Matter is not really advocating for anything other than to give them more money. And they're mostly advocating for like LGBT, like gay rights and trans rights and like other like what's that like
default,
illegal
bro.
immigration, stuff like that.
Yeah, not only that,
Like,
bro,
that's
they're
what they're-
also trying to you do away with like the nuclear family or something like that. That's what's in their manifesto
I saw
on their
that.
site too.
You
Man.
saw that, yep.
Hmm?
They're anti-Black men, like they're anti-Black men. Like the whole group is a crazy Nazi feminist, like extreme, like pro-gay rights, pro illegal immigration, like type of organization, and they're just getting a lot of funds and they're using Black Death for profit.
Yep.
That
I know we got off
that's
topic,
it.
guys, but we're just having a chat now. At this point, we got callers. If you guys want to call in to talk about UCC or any input on that, definitely do
Hey,
that.
I do want to touch on this UCC type thing.
Yeah.
You know, because it's really important, actually. The fact that, you know, the state is operating in a deficit and that our identities, our egos, really what we work for is pretty much leveraged by government, by force. And we have no say in the matter. That should be unconstitutional to an extent. Like, but you guys are touching on whether or not the Constitution was actually written. Do you believe that
I'm
it
not
is?
saying. I'm not saying. I was just kind of using that to be kind of silly. Like I think that the Constitution was written, but the thing is, after a certain point in time, you got to question whether or not really what you're being told actually took place, because there's nobody that can actually really prove. And it's like there was nobody there. And also, like, a thing like the Constitution, it's kind of a contract, and everybody who signed that contract is long dead and gone. So how can we be held? Like, how can that something to be, if all the parties who were involved are no longer in existence? How is that even a liable contract? It's an interesting concept when you think about it, but I just question what in our history is true. And based off what we talked about the last time at the tail end, I'm pretty sure you're on that same page, that we've been completely duped and lied to as to what the actual history of North America, of the world. You know, I don't know if half of what we're being told is correct or true. I don't know.
Sure. You know, when we last met up in person at Anarchadelphia, there was this lawyer that was there that was telling me about how when they were writing the Constitution, that they couldn't actually enforce the Constitution onto Black men that were there before, like, the civilization was, you know, pretty much being written into existence from the colonies.
Well, that's kind of was something that me and CB were talking with. I think you were on the line with the Moorish nation.
Yeah,
the idea
exactly.
that the Black people were here prior to Europeans, Spanish.
Yeah, exactly.
It may have been there may have been Native Americans and Black people coexisting. I don't know. The only thing that the way I understood it with the way I was taught in school was that the white people came from Europe,
Of course.
and met the Native Americans.
Yeah.
There was no
But the
mention,
Moors-
I know.
no
But the
mention
Moors-
of any other
Nope.
group of people, except for when the white people brought Black people over on boats and made them slaves.
Exactly,
Which made
right?
it sound like they because I've always had like in some stereotypical way, all Black people come from Africa.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. It's pretty much
Which I
whitewash.
understand a little bit more where the African American thing would be offensive.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Well,
a
I mean,
whitewash.
it's not offensive to me.
But I can understand
but-
the idea. You know, I was trying to be respectful, but I can understand where I've been mistaken in my education. You know, and limited based off what I've been taught to believe that Black people weren't native to Northern America.
Facts.
But that should give an example too of how distorted our fucking history is.
It is
big
incredibly.
time.
So, but here's the thing, boys, men, excuse me.
Boys
Yeah,
to
my
men.
apologies. Yeah,
Boys
boys
to
to
men.
men. Boys to men.
That's
my
Yo,
favorite
boys
group.
to men.
Hey, Proud Boys, stand down and stand back.
Yo, bro. Oh my days, bro. Yo, but seriously though, here's the thing though. The Moors were actually heavily involved in Europe too. Like
Yes.
Yeah, in
Yeah, I
Western
think they
Europe.
were.
Speak
now,
on that.
Yeah, so that's
Speak
how they
on
got
that.
financed. That's how they
Speak
got
on that.
financed.
Yeah,
The,
speak on that.
the Islamic religion, does that coincide with Moorish beliefs, or is that two separate things that sometimes coincided, or was it part of the Moorish beliefs? Were they Islamic?
Yes, inherently they were, but
Okay.
there were some that were also Catholic as well.
Because like when a lot of the times in the I forget what they call it, but when they were sending like the crusading time periods.
You're right. Yeah, that's
the more that's when the thing that they teach in history is that the Moors were one of the Islamic groups that would go and destroy people's cultures and areas.
Exactly. But then some of them
this is what's being taught.
Absolutely. I know.
You're right, but here's the thing: some of them actually converted.
That's only a small piece of the history of the Moors. They actually helped a lot of the Europeans become more organized with like water.
We got to do a whole episode talking about this.
For sure.
I'd actually like to talk to some people who are currently involved in some sort of Moorish nation.
Let's do that.
Something. Please reach out.
Yeah, I think I got a couple contacts. But that's only a part of the history of the Moors. Yeah, they did do that, but so did the Christian conquistadors or whatever. They killed millions of people. You know, so
yeah, I'm definitely not trying to fault it. I'm just trying to give examples of things from what I can recall from what I was being taught.
That's the Holy Wars, though. That's the entire dichotomy of the Holy Wars, the Crusades, and some Moors were actually forced to convert to Christianity. And these Moors actually had different time dates for communications when they were writing letters for these bonds and for these deals, internationally. Like some Moors were actually like saying that they were behind 300, 200 years compared to the Christians. They believed that they were ahead 200, 300 years. So, yeah, there's this weird, like, sort of like strange like culture shock that happens between these two different sects, these two different beliefs in religion, even though like they were pretty much Masonic. Both sects were Masonic.
It's all Abrahamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything, even when it comes down to that, I mean, even Jewish beliefs.
Have either of you guys heard of the Huns?
Yeah, like Attila the Hun, the Mongolians.
So he's saying that the Moors weren't the first; it was the Huns. I'm sure, like there were people before the Huns that were here, like tens of thousands of years before.
Yeah, you can find Mongolians in a lot of like. I think Mongolians conquered Hungary, so you can find a lot of Mongolian and people from.
It's like, how did you get pyramids in Mexico?
How do you know?
Like you got the same type of architecture.
North America.
Northern America too. Right.
So, I mean, of course, like history is not. They omit everything. They tell you.
They omit everything that's most important. They do.
Yep.
But the crazy thing is, if we don't know what happened, and nobody's really sure, nobody should be arguing on what they think is right. Because we have no way of being able to determine who's correct. So I mean, who was here first? It goes to it. I'd rather just look at it as like the chicken and the egg at this point. We just need to tear down the systems that we have and start over. I don't like a lot of the things that were pre-existing. I think that we should start looking at figuring out.
That comes with education, though.
Better solutions.
You need an educated population for that. It's not just education like, oh, I'm telling you, these facts. You need a population that's emotionally aware. That's the problem. Like what's going on. It's like everybody's getting emotionally manipulated to focus on one event or this identity or that identity, and it's like while you're being manipulated, the major issue within this system is the people with capital are just obtaining more capital, and the people without capital are losing more and more capital, and they're losing more and more power, and they're just mostly in debt. And that's all that's happening. That's why, you talk about politics and stuff like that. It's like, I just think it's a one big game, because it's like, no matter the administration that comes in, the policies are the same. It's just, we're going to extract capital from those that don't, that have few capital or extract their production, and, few benefit from that.
That's called
like
capitalism. That's capitalism. there are some bad side effects of running a capitalistic society, and that's one of them.
Well, but having the
Capitalism
government doing what
extracts-
they're doing, that's crony capitalism.
Yeah, but even regular capitalism,
Even so.
even regular capitalism, if run perfectly, without the crony stuff, there's still some cons to it, and one being the extraction of wealth from the ones below you, or from one class to another. That's the whole point.
That would be a nice way for us to move forward,
Yep.
is getting out of that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scared that we're going towards socialism. That's my concern. Like, I would love for us to evolve from capitalism to something new,
But yeah, definitely not go backwards.
but
with
not go
socialism.
backwards, because if we go to socialism, like we said, I think last time, Rice, ultimately socialism leads to communism. That's
Bro,
the
we're
end
already
result.
living in socialism, though, man. If you
Kind
think
of.
about it, at the end of the day,
yeah.
like-
I mean, it's not an off-on switch, right?
It's
like
not full.
it's
It's
a
not full on.
It's not
but it is
full on.
full on. It is
Nah.
full on.
And transitioning to
Nah.
You not know
It's
that what
socialism.
Donald Trump did with the PPP loans? Like, bro, are you kidding me?
that's
Like,
that's
dude.
just in the past
it's
few
socialism
years.
for the capital class. It's not socialism for the masses. That's the issue, and that's where you
Explain
talk about
Medicare
crony
and
capitalism.
Social Security. Like,
I mean, food
Bruh.
stamps.
Those
is
are
a
social
socialism.
systems. But
A lot
of
those
the- a
are
lot of the
predicated
government
on what your
benefits-
there's
age.
a gradient. There's a gradient of socialism, and
Right, that's what I'm
our
saying. It
modern
doesn't-
day system right now.
It doesn't happen.
as a
It's
whole.
not like a on-off binary event. Like, we're not gonna go from capitalism to socialism overnight. It's
Yeah, we're not
literally
going to all of
be
a sudden be like a communist regime tomorrow.
no. It's a slow death.
Yeah, because we
You know,
get more
One-
comfortable.
one of the
with it
funny-
and assimilates into it.
one of the funny things that the media try to push with the narrative of Donald Trump was calling him a fascist, whatever. And fascism is just corporate control. It's corporate ownership of the economy of your government.
We've been doing
And
that.
you can make that argument that, every Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. You're already in a fascist state.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah,
just,
but it didn't
like,
used to be so
people-
much that the bailouts are different, but now like with some of the bailouts, the government was specifically saying we want shares and ownership in your business, like with the case of Boeing. So and that didn't take.
They didn't take that deal.
Right, but
Yeah, they didn't take that deal.
but that's the kind of stuff that's going on. That wasn't going on before. Even in the bailouts in 2008, the government wasn't asking for any sort of stake or shares in return for bailouts.
Yeah, they did. They got GM shares.
Yeah.
Okay, the automobile industry, but now I was thinking when I was talking more about the financial industry and the banking industry that got bailed out. But you're right with the automobile industry.
Yeah. We got
Amtrak
shares.
Amtrak was one that got the government helped out a lot. I think the government owns a lot of shares in Amtrak. So I mean, there are things that are kind of going in that direction where the government is owning parts of these businesses, and it is kind of going into like just corporatocracy.
Yep.
Hate that freaking word.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's already
That's
there.
socialism.
Like, you could-
That's socialism to an extent. Wouldn't you agree? Like
It
they're
is.
not actually like
Socialism,
giving
fascism are all parts of communism.
See, that's what exactly. That's
Oh.
the end result. We'll end up in a communist society, man. It's on our way. We're gonna be a China. We're gonna be a China, and
And I thought,
I'm sorry,
I
people don't
really
like
thought we were
Trump.
fighting against it.
We were, but Trump was trying to do that, Rice.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's back on where Trump's like, where China's like, oh, we're good now. It really looks.
That's
like
where
this.
and this is where I disagree, because
Okay.
Trump was peddling the more fascist state, the more corporate state. But you could
yeah.
argue Biden is pushing that as well. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, there are differences within those two ideologies. In pure socialism, like in a nice way, the way socialism is supposed to be run is, everybody's basically sharing in the production. Like, you're extracting wealth from the top down to the everyday people. That's the ideal ways of socialism. But in this, like, socialism, it's everything is being extracted to the capital class, and also the corporations run the government. If the stock market crashes, 20% tomorrow, we'll have a stimulus.
Yep.
Like everybody's wondering when we're going to
Not
get a
even
stimulus.
20. That's the sad thing. 10% bailout.
10%.
Yep.
We'll have a bailout. We'll have another
Nathaniel
bailout.
Nathaniel makes a good point too when he said that there's no debate that this is a socialist country. Who doesn't have a social security card? Well, he calls it social insecurity, but yeah, I mean,
It's hilarious.
that was kind of like but again, that was around the 1930s, 1933.
That's when socialism was prevalent around the world. That's when you had an actual threat of socialism taking over, the Western world. You don't have that threat anymore, and now you just have corporations. You're not. I think I said this before. I don't think you're going to have I think where we're evolving to is you're going to have global extreme globalism. You're not going to have
we're going towards Idiocracy. The movie is coming to life.
Yo,
but
what I want to see? I want to see a technocracy.
You're gonna name your kid Hancho
social...
Mancho Camacho Mountain Dew, and he's going to become president.
Hell no, that's crazy, right? That's some kabuki theater type shit. Yo, but hear me out, all right?
That's the future.
No,
and I'm looking forward to you growing your hair out like that. Just like him in that movie.
On my days. Anyway, so as I was saying, I would like to see us move towards a technocracy. You know what I mean? Like a technocracy that's ruled by AI.
Yeah, I bet you would.
That's happening.
Everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
you want that?
Yeah,
I want 3D printed everything, bro.
You're crazy, man.
I want to have a pet robot.
That's what
a pet robot, bro.
Your pet robot, you're gonna be the pet to the robot. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. You're gonna be the pet human.
Exactly.
Man, I'm gonna become transhuman, bro. I'm gonna have robot limbs and shit. I'll be able to see through walls, man. Y'all can't. Bruh.
Yeah, but you'll also be able to be controlled by the mainframe too. So it's just gonna tap in on your brain and just control you, and it's just you're gonna be like a little puppet.
Oh, damn.
Just a little puppet. So it's
you're
connecting up to the network. You're syncing up with all the other Apple devices, and now you're being controlled.
Yeah. My body becomes the literal IoT. If you think about it, at that point, literal sense of IoT. 10 pounds. Yeah, the internet at 10 pounds. Yep.
Oh man.
But
go ahead.
Just one last point. This is the crux of the issue is we're talking about more philosophical and I guess kind of metaphysics, kind of what should society be but these are the questions that always been. There's always been people that have been controlled. There's always been a mass that's always been controlled by a few. Mm-hmm. So it's we're really just I think we're just realizing this is the repeat of history. This is just how things are. Mm-hmm. For the most part, is majority of people are sheep, and the majority of people just are not going to get it. And it's not, they're not going to wake up or quote unquote wake up or get woke or whatever. They're just going to go along to get along.
Yep, and that's why I don't believe we're going to be able to have a change. I know my guy Rice is hopeful, but I'm not hopeful in society. Cause
I see the ideas of the way we live now evolving, just nations. I think people are going to get tired. You can see how divided our nation is now. Our nation could easily split into 2 governance systems right now, and then it could split again from there. We could start having the idea of more of mega cities or regions that are specific to what those people in those areas and regions want as their governance models or how they want to operate.
Oh, Hunger Games?
Possibly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
What district you from?
It might get to that point.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, if just the ideology of where we are today needs to change. The idea that the systems of power that we have that implement this type of control, where they can force people to do things, and we're not supposed to question it, is not the way that we're supposed to exist. And that shit doesn't need to happen, and we need to prevent it, and we need to do our best to not comply and stand up and let the governments know what we will and we won't do. And when we do this in smaller numbers, it's going to be easy to take out groups of people. But when enough people actually get tired of this, there's a lot of people that are questioning why we're doing some of the things we're doing and some of the measures that are taking place.
Rice. But bro, Rice, dude, come on, man. Don't forget, we've been in a war for like 19 years. That's unaccountable. We attacked the wrong nation after a terrorist attack on our soil, bro. Like, and people were still willing to die in that war for something to go to college and get the GI Bill benefits.
I mean, those kind of things to me, I feel like all those leaders know what they're doing and they don't care about what the consequences of those actions are and how it affects the people of their nations or whatever. It's whatever they can do to tighten up control. And if you look at everything that's been going on, it's just been getting the powers of the government more power, less freedom for the people, and it just keeps going until eventually we just lose it all. It's been happening in steps, and it's happening all around the world. Look what's been going on in Hong Kong in the early part of the year.
Oh man,
look at France now.
Going on in Hong Kong. Yeah, that's sad what's going on in Hong Kong. Absolutely,
people
sad.
are getting tired of this shit, And when you see,
well, what do you see the fate of Hong Kong being? I mean, they were supposed to have how many more years of freedom before, and I
forget what it was, but that's even a crazy agreement where like
it is.
It's owned by the British government, but it's supposed to go
turn over to China
at a certain point. China was being premature on that.
Mm-hmm.
But Hong Kong is also this weird gray area, and there's a lot of finances that go through Hong Kong too. So it's like it's almost like its own nation.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think is going to happen. I mean, if the communist China just keeps growing and getting bigger and more controlling, and the people are just like obedient little slaves, I mean, that social score system, all that, the facial recognition, you can't do anything.
But it's on the way here. Like, we have facial recognition in the city of Detroit already.
Like, I'll tell you how bad it is. Like, I did an interview, and it's on my channel with the creator of Skycoin.
Okay.
He's in China. And he was using a VPN or something prior to doing the interview and forgot he had it on. And during the interview, they shut off his Zoom, shut off his internet, contacted him and said, identify yourself, because everybody in China who logs into the internet can be tied back to their identity.
Mm-hmm. And
at the time he was logged in, he wasn't tied back to his identity. So they killed and terminated in the middle of the interview, just like turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had to reconnect, and I had to like do a little editing, but I actually had him explain what had happened, because the Chinese government would not let him continue.
But that's happening here already.
Identify himself.
Yeah, that's happening here already. Remember I was telling you about the hip hop guys that's been getting in trouble, right?
Yeah.
One of them, Casanova is his name. Casanova, he's a part of this Gorilla Stone Nation gang, right? The FBI got a warrant to get access to his iCloud, his DMs on Instagram. They have all his conversations. They had a warrant and was granted access to this stuff without him knowing.
For one, I didn't think Apple was giving access to anything. I thought now they're giving up access to all the stuff to people, because I didn't even think that they even had access to it.
Me either. This guy, the FBI obtained access to his iCloud, his DMs, all of that on Instagram, on all of the
So terrible acts of violence. What are these terrible acts of violence? Do you know?
What do you mean?
That's what they're saying. Yeah, accused of conspiring in terrible acts of violence.
I don't know, just gang stuff. I mean, I don't know, drug distribution, whatever. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying all that is right. What I'm saying is, why is the government able to get access to your devices with a warrant and you have no clue about it? That's no worse or no better than what's going on in China with the CCP.
No, we don't have privacy. I mean, that's why people should be paying attention to a lot of things Edward Snowden has been saying. Check out his book.
Exactly.
Not just his Bitcoin, realizing what's going on with the dollar versus. I mean, he's saying a lot of things that are really important involving encryption. There's the government's even trying to introduce bills that would even, I think, that allow them to do that without having to get a warrant. At least right now, they have to get a warrant, even though you're unaware of it. There's still at least.
What is that?
Imagine when
means
they don't even
nothing.
need the warrant, though.
Right. What does it matter if they have to go get a warrant and you still don't know? It's no different than just snooping.
And look, next thing you know, we're gonna have a bunch of bald people in a pool and Tom Cruise and like balls coming out of little tubes saying who's gonna commit some crime in the future. Predictive linguistics, trying to predict crimes and shit like that, and coming to arrest
police.
you. Yeah,
Thought
dude.
police, all that stuff, man. It's already here.
I'm
It's
telling
already
you,
here, so we just got to be careful.
We can prevent it from happening.
Yeah. So we've been going long enough, man. I appreciate your time tonight. Next time, I would love to talk about like what steps you're taking, and we didn't even really get into the legal fiction aspect of all of this. Maybe we can drill down.
Well, really, the corporate side is the legal fiction. You know, the idea that if there is a corporate version of you created on paper based off your birth certificates and your social security number and all that, that would be your straw man, your legal fiction. That's what operates in the courts. That's the dead entity. That is the dead you that's operating. That's because supposedly you and me are lost at sea and don't actually know our names.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can get into as well too, a little bit, going into how I think some of this started with the surnames, because there used to be a time period we didn't have last names, surnames. You know, people would be like, you would be like, if your dad's name was Blood, you'd be Crypto of Blood,
right?
Because your father, your son of your father. You know, usually things are done like that. They didn't have surnames and things. That stuff started in the Roman time period with cognomen names, and I think that's a lot of what started it was the surname system. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and then if people want to figure out something, anything more specific as far as information, I mean, definitely comment on the video. I'll check the comments.
Yeah, he does. He checks the comments. Definitely leave those comments if you're watching afterwards. Check my man Rice out on Twitter. You're on a lot of platforms. You're on, where are you?
Yeah,
YouTube,
Twitter, YouTube. People can find me on Library and Odyssey. Those are video platforms. On social media, you can find me pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Instagram. I'm on Parler. I'm on Float.app. Pretty much everywhere at Rice Crypto. Shout
out to my man 10 Pound and John Hill for checking in tonight as well. Shout out to those brothers. Good conversation.
Is John default?
Yeah, it's default. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go, guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell. Receive more videos like this. We'll do this again. I don't know if we're gonna do it next week or when, but I'm definitely having them back on to talk UCC, Uniform Commercial Codes, and much more. We out of here, people. Holla! Holla!
Stack my coin.
Right.
Stack my coin. Stack my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, cash.
I'm old school, Beretta, I on the Sparrow. I told you, make moves, nigga, stack the dinero.
Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay.
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
Nah, I'ma wash him with some Tide detergent.